this video, we're going to look at some additional navigation functions. But before we do that, I want to follow up on something I showed you in the last video when I merged several audio events together into an audio part. We have a couple of different playback modes that we get to at the bottom of the inspector here, and you can resize this. We have normal play mode, which, as you would expect, just plays the events as normal. And when we're in overlaps, the underlying events in this part, in the situation where they might have overlapped each other, meaning the end of one event overlaps the start of another, here it'll play both parts of the overlap. And then we have slices, which add little fades at the beginning and ends of the underlying events here. I'm going to put it back to normal. And once we're here, we can also lock events, and we have time lock and edit lock. So when we enable time lock, we can't change our position in the timeline, and edit lock prevents us from actually editing any of the underlying data, but we can still do things like mute and solo and duplicate and copy and paste and that kind of thing. Now, getting into the navigation functions, we have different play modes that are available. We can get to them by right-clicking in the transport menu here, and we also can get to them from the transport menu up here. So here we have loop follows selection, which means the locators will automatically adjust to whatever is selected. Now, right now, the loop isn't active, but that doesn't matter. The locators still adjust based on what's selected. If I select just this small one here, we'll see just that. And if I hit this button or the / key, it'll enable the loop. And then whatever we select will get auto-adjusted like that. And while we're here, let me merge these events. We punched in this organ part, so I'm going to select these and just hit G, and that'll make them a little easier to manipulate as well. And same thing with the bass. I think we had replaced or corrected some part of it. So let me hit G there, and same thing here, so that we have these individual blocks to deal with. And you see that this has been adjusting each time. I'm going to hit / to turn that off. And the next thing we have is enable play start marker. And here we see this triangle that's appeared now. Let me just right click and turn off the loop follows selection for the moment. So what it means is that playback will always start from this position, separate from the edit selection. So it lets you always start playback from a chosen location as you're editing, no matter where the edit selection currently is. So if I hit play right now, it's going to start from here. Hit stop, hit play again. It always jumps back to there. So maybe I want to drag it around back here. I always want to hear playback from there. And maybe I'm working on editing something in here in these bars, but I always want to hear a couple of bars before so I can make my selections, do my editing, whatever, and then hit play. It's going to start from this playback marker. And we can drag here, of course, to set the locators, or just click right on the triangle to move the marker. So let's right click and disable that. And we've got one more option here, return to the start position on stop. And there's the shortcut. So when we do this, the playback cursor returns to the position from where it started. So this is great for auditioning quickly any edits by repeatedly starting and stopping from the same location. So maybe I'm working on a couple of bars around here. I'm going to hit play. I hit stop and it immediately goes back. So it'll always start from that position. So useful, and you can toggle them on and off quickly with these shortcuts. I'll leave it off for now. Now, another useful and related function is up here. We can enable cursor follows edit position. So with that done, when we select an event, the cursor is going to snap to the beginning. And even if we just make a time range selection, it's going to snap there. So that's useful for quick editing when you just make a selection and want to start playback from right where you're working at. Now, we also have auto scroll, which is kind of related to this, determines the position of the cursor, and it's on by default. And it means that the arranged view follows the current playback cursor position. So if you're playing and it goes beyond the screen, it's going to refresh the screen and keep this in view. So that's on by default. I'm going to turn that off for now. And while we're here, let's look at toggle ripple edit. So what this means is that when you delete or trim or edit something, everything further downstream is going to be moved back to snap into place. Let me leave it off for now. And with this time range selection, let's say I hit delete. We have a little hole there, and that's what you'd expect. I deleted a certain part, and it leaves an empty space. I'm going to hit undo. And with that same time range selection, if I enable ripple edit, when I delete that, everything else is going to move to the left. So let me hit delete, and everything moved to fill that hole. We hit undo, and we're back to our original. So that's ripple edit. We'll continue with more in the next video.